working there.
Now I see the difference.
You can hear me?
You'll have to like talk very loud.
Angelica can hear me. That's a good sign. Can you hear now?
This is working, so we're gonna make
Can you hear now?
Soch, you want it here?
Hello. Is that good, Sammy? Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you for waiting for a bit. We were just waiting to hit quorum, so we're finally there. So thanks so much for coming to the AAISA 2019 AGM. For those who don't know me, my name is Raisa Faruqi. I'm the Business Development and Outreach Coordinator here at AAISA. Can you hear me in the back? Do I have to go louder? I have to project. Okay, hi. Yeah, so thanks again for coming out today. Before we begin, I just want to say a few words. So as we collectively strive to understand the historic and ongoing relationship between settlement and the land on which we are located, we respectfully acknowledge that the province of Alberta is comprised of Treaty 6, Treaty 7, and Treaty 8 territories, and is the traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people. The meeting today is taking place on the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Guyana First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So yeah, before we start, I just want to point out we do have an online live feed. There's a 10-second delay, so for any question periods or voting, we're just going to pause a little bit so we have time to get get all the votes from them. Also, the bathrooms are just outside. You might have seen it when you walked in. Yeah, so we're going to try to do this all under an hour. I heard Immigrant Services Calgary did it in 13 minutes. I don't know if we can beat that, but yeah.
12 minutes.
Wow, okay, there you go. But yeah, so to kick things off, I'd like to introduce Eric Amtman, our board chair, and if you can come up to the front.
Thank you. All right, I would like to welcome you, call this meeting to order, and declare that we do have quorum. Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Frank, and seconded by Anila. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? I'm going to do this really fast because we want to get it in under 12 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the 2018 AGM minutes? Beryl and Carol, all in favor? Oh, sorry, questions, sorry. Are there any questions? Beryl and Carol. Any
Said a little bit slower for minute taking purposes.
yes, sorry. Are there any changes, omissions, deletions that you would like to see, would you like to bring up? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? That is carried too. My report. Usually you're meant to give like a really positive report, but I've been complaining about Calgary and camping for the last 10 minutes, so that may flavor my comments a little bit. I'm going to do something I think a little bit different because I'm not sure what Sarosh will cover, and I think he'll cover everything AAISA that I miss. I had my first meeting with a minister. I was the provincial manager for something called the Alberta Native Friendship Center Association. I was meeting with what was then the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs. And I was wearing like my best pants and like shiny shoes and a collared shirt at the minister's office. And they gave me the mail because they thought I was a messenger. And so since then, I wear suits and ties all the time, with the exception of today, because I was told to wear jeans, and I feel like I'm woefully underdressed right now. But I am the chair of AAISA, believe it or not.
Yahoo! Welcome to Calgary.
Yep, yep. There's a couple of things that I'm going to talk about. First is some of the challenges that we are faced with. One of the settlement's main funder is IRCC, Immigrants, Refugees, Citizenship Canada. And I think we've had a very good relationship with them over time. I think there's some challenges that we're faced with as Alberta has now passed BC as the third largest recipient of newcomers, and yet some of the systems that we have reflect what we looked like 10 years ago. I think we're also in a province that has a new government, and that will present us with opportunities and challenges. This new government has created a new ministry called Labour and Immigration. They've also created a position called a Parliamentary Secretary for Immigration, and have signaled that immigration is going to be an important piece of policy work that will happen in the next while. There's also, I think, a growing recognition that AAISA needs to be the voice of the sector, that individual agencies won't be able to play that role to the degree that AAISA is capable of playing that role. And in kind of validating that belief, was it last week or the week before, Sarosh, Anila, and I were in Edmonton. It was a beautiful day. Actually, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a poor day too. We were in Edmonton. We were in the legislative building, and we were meeting with the Premier, the Minister of Labour and Immigration, the Parliamentary Secretary for Immigration, and the Minister for Advanced Education. And I think it is a recognition that they want to hear from the sector. They want to have trusted advisors from within the sector, and they're looking to AAISA to play that role. The other thing I guess that I would say is not going to be exactly positive, but is important to acknowledge, is we as a sector need a really strong AAISA. I think we're faced with challenges that are overwhelming our individual agencies, and we need AAISA to be a strong voice for us, because we're treading water to do the work that we're doing. And I will give you what is probably a very, what I know to be a very unpleasant example. In my agency, EMCN, we have a wait list for settlement. Our wait list for a settlement service is 6 weeks. Our wait list for an employment service is 4 weeks. Our wait list to see a mental health or a therapist is 8 weeks. And the way we're having to triage right now is incredibly upsetting. So we had a 10-year-old girl who's the victim of sexual assault. She was actually raped. And we triaged everybody who comes in and asks for an appointment to see a therapist. And we triaged her to 4 weeks, which I think speaks to how dire some of the challenges that the sector is faced with. And we look to AAISA to tell that story. Because when I tell that story, people think I'm just asking for money. When AAISA tells that story, they're saying, we've got an issue in this province. We need to work with you, government policymakers, to solve these issues. And so one of the things that I know we're going to spend this year doing is ensuring that we have the strong AAISA that we need, that we have the resources that we need. I want to acknowledge that we do have some challenges in front of us. I think we have a capable team. I think we have a capable board, and I think we're going to take them on head on, and I expect to win those battles. So that was not so much a look at the last year, but I think more a look at the year ahead, which is why I'm going to turn it over to George to look at the year behind us, I assume? Yes, somewhat? Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we're going to call up Sarosh.
And especially thank you, everyone. It's a great turnout. I don't know this because my history with AAISA is only a year plus old, but I imagine this is the best turnout we've had at an AGM, which is great to see. So I want to talk a little bit, as Eric said, in terms of the last year, and also a little bit looking ahead to this first year. It is a nice opportunity for me to have so many members in the same room, and I do want to take advantage of that, despite the 12-minute record from ISC. So, some highlights, a few highlights that I wanted to speak on, and the first one is just our growing membership. So we have grown to 44 members as of now. Most of these are reflective of last fiscal year, although some actually are from this current fiscal year. So 44 members, which is the most members we've had, despite the fact that within Alberta there were agencies who were previously members that are no longer funded. So we did lose some members, but our net total is still higher. So Keano College making changes, Cité de la Chose, who's here with us today, Association Francophone de Brooks, Somali Canadian Women's and Children's Services, Edson District Community Learning Society, Jasper Department of Community and Family Services, and Access d'Emploi. There'll be a couple themes as I talk about things that we've been focusing on the last year, and two of them are evident right there. One is really focusing on services in the small centers and ensuring that we are representative of small centers, and the other one is ensuring that we are aware and working with our Francophone membership as well in the Francophone sector. So we're looking at 3 members from the Francophone community that are new members with us, but we're also looking at places like Edson and Jasper, where we haven't previously had membership before. So I think that really speaks to the good work that's being done, and special congratulations to Angelica, who's our strategic lead in charge of small centers, for doing a lot of that work. So that has been a very positive success so far, and continues to be. Next, there we are. Next thing, I think I might have missed a slide. Can you go back? No. So the next thing I want to talk about is expanding our funding base. Like most people in this room, most organizations in this room, IRCC continues to be our main funder, and is the major funder of the sector. However, in the last year, it's been a priority and part of one of the pillars of our strategic plan to look at expanding our funding, and this past year has been very positive for that. So I want to talk a little bit about that in terms of what's coming up, and also what that means in terms of the programming that you'll see on your end and your staff will see. So 2 Government of Alberta grants, and we got these grants from the Ministry of Labour before it was the Ministry of Labour and Immigration, but we're working quite closely with them. The first one was from the SOAP funding, and that has resulted in 2 major things from our point of view, and both things are underway already. The first one is PD courses. So through this grant, we're offering 4 PD courses. Each course will be delivered 2 separate times in person, and then will be available online afterwards. So those not only include 4 PD courses, but one of those PD courses is specific to needs of small centers, which is something we're just starting with now as far as developing the course. And another one is the first AAISA course that is developed specifically for the Francophone community and will be delivered in French, which is, again, something that AAISA has really prioritized over the last year. The second piece of this is working with the province in terms of establishing priorities. So we all know IRCC's role, and for those who were here last year at the AAISA AGM and heard Eric talking about funding levels across provinces, we know the provincial government of Alberta does not have the best history in terms of how much they fund the settlement sector. The great thing is now we're working with them and helping establish those priorities. The engagement team, which is Leslie's team, for those who do know Leslie, along with Leisha and Thomas and Angelica, as I mentioned, and Daniela, who's our research staff but not here, are working on that and working with the province. The first teleconference for that just happened a couple weeks ago, and that will continue to happen on a quarterly basis as we work with the province to determine not only those key areas that need funding, but also work at them at looking at things on a more macro level in terms of what role the province can play in ensuring that newcomers to Alberta and our member organizations have everything they need to ensure services are delivered and the needs of newcomers are met. The second one we got from the province is for a labor market program. So that falls within our professional development stream of programming, and for that, Margaret is in the back there, and Rohan's at reception, and Sammy and Kevin are handling tech duties as they do. So on that front, we are working. Last year, we established a secondary stream of professional development programming. We've always done settlement practitioner training. Last year, we established a career practitioner stream, but weren't able to offer courses. We didn't have the funding to offer courses, but we did establish the stream and the frameworks and everything that go behind it. This year, through this grant, we are able to offer programming specifically for career practitioners. We are working with another organization called Multicultural Business Solutions to develop and deliver these sessions. So far, we've delivered 2 of them already, one in Edmonton and Calgary. But over the course of this grant, I believe there'll be 15 courses delivered in total, all 2-day courses, and all, I believe it's 7 or 8 municipalities across the province where they're going to be delivered. So for those members who are not in Calgary or Edmonton, there will be sessions in Lethbridge, Red Deer, Lloydminster, Fort McMurray, a few others. If you want the details on it at the registration table, talk to Rohan. There's a handout there that has all the delivery dates, and the registration for those will be ongoing because they will be delivered on an ongoing basis. Lastly, we have Alberta Eco Trust here. We have a partnership with Alberta Eco Trust to deliver some programming as well. That doesn't affect last year, but that's another thing that we're looking forward to right now as AAISA continues to look at ways of expanding our partnerships and expanding our reach. So speaking more just on the programming side as opposed to funding related, there's a couple things that we launched in the last year that I think were very effective, and some weren't necessarily new launches, but they were new ways of looking at different programming. And first and foremost for me personally is the National Settlement and Integration Council, which was previously just known as the National Settlement Council. AAISA has had 2 members at NSC, now NSIC. For some time it was Eric and Beba from Siwa, who most of you know. Now we have just been approved for a 3rd member, which is very exciting. So that's already a good sign that nationally Alberta is not only being more recognized, but we also have more of an opportunity to present the Alberta voice. The other side with that is what we started doing in the past year are 2 things. One, working with all of you before NSC to ensure what we're bringing up nationally is truly representative of the needs and the trends that you guys are seeing. So again, that engagement team is great at that in terms of gathering everyone's information. We put together policy briefs, we put together reports, so when we go to Ottawa and we're meeting with IRCC, we are sure to let them know exactly what's going on in Alberta and what they need to be aware of. What we started doing now as well is following up NSIC now with an update meeting. So that is getting the whole sector and really recapping everything that's shared. Those few days are absolutely packed with information. The amount of things that are shared there, if they don't fall out to everyone in the sector, we're doing the whole province a disservice. So that's something we've started now. I believe, Eric, you did the first one and I did the last one. At the next NSC, we'll follow the same suit. We'll update everyone on the province just so everyone knows what's coming up, what the priorities are. That to me has gone quite well. We also, through our refugee claimant advisory committee last year, put together an advisory package, an advocacy package and advocacy plan for in relation to refugee claimants. That is something, like many AAISA activities, that come more so from feedback from membership than necessarily funded priorities, but that's why we meet with you as we do. Those meetings went very well. We were able to meet with 7 municipalities, so that's mayors, that's the councilmen or councilwomen. We were able to meet with 3 provincial ministries, and in each case we presented a set of recommendations. Those recommendations all were how to work within the established resources and the established systems in order to improve services for refugee claimants, which often meant improving access to services for refugee claimants, because we all know the services and the funding behind services are limited. So it was a matter of how can we maximize the access to them. They went quite well, and we had some very nice wins there, especially in relation to the provincial ministries, who were very eager to hear what we had to say. That's something we'll continue to follow up on, especially with the new governments in place, but very positive. For the first time, we held in-person engagement meetings for all members' meetings in Calgary, Edmonton, and with our small center members. We held our first ever in-person Francophone consultation. That led to the creation of our Francophone strategy. So thanks to the people in the room who were part of that. And we also launched the Small Centers Toolkit. So a Small Centers Toolkit is something we've been working on that is really looking at those agencies who might not have the capacity and the resources of larger agencies to ensure that both from an organizational point of view and both from an access to resources point of view, that they have that information available. Realistically, when you have a smaller agency, you spend a lot of time gathering some of that information or putting some of that together, which you just, if you don't have your own HR department, if you don't have your own public relations department, it's quite taxing on a smaller organization. So it's a way of ensuring the smaller organizations have access to that. Alongside with that toolkit, there's just on our soon-to-be launched website, which is just in the data transfer section right now. There will be a portal there for the Small Center Toolkit for everyone to not only access those resources, but also a community area where they can go back and forth in terms of having discussions around those and helping us identify where we need to expand as we expand on that. Staffing highlights. So a few people I want to mention, some I've mentioned already. Margaret Jev joined us back in October, I want to say, November of last year, replacing myself as the manager of programs and services. Raisa Faruqi, who's emceeing today, joined us as well right around then, October, as our business development outreach coordinator. You'll hear a lot from Raisa because she's the one who will send out not only our newsletter, but a lot of the communications from AAISA. Our new strategy lead, Thomas, who some of you met as you were coming in today, has just started with us recently. He's based out of Edmonton. And then Rohan Karpe, who's at the registration table in the back, is our new learning and professional development lead. I want to highlight those people. I want to highlight one person who's not here right now, who's Nada Starcevic. She's on vacation, but is kind of the glue that keeps AAISA running. And more than just these individuals, I also want to point out that everyone else at AAISA were in this room last year, which for an organization that historically has had quite a lot of turnover, it's really nice to see because the strength and talent that we have on staff is quite incredible. So that wraps up the last year, and a few things I want to highlight for this fiscal year going forward. First off, we have a new office location. For those of you who know, it's just across the street from here. We were at our old office for quite some time, but one positive of the economic downturn in Calgary is we were able to upgrade our office facilities quite significantly without incurring cost. So that is open now. We will extend invitations. I don't think we're going to do any sort of grand opening or anything like that. More so just extend invitations for our member agencies to come in. We have a little bit more in terms of facility space there, so the ability to host individual meetings there, or even professional development sessions. We have the capacity there. Also the new engagement model. So engagement-wise, we have been working for the last few years kind of in the same model. We have caucus meetings in Calgary and Edmonton. Small centers, we handle regular teleconferences. And then everything above and beyond that has been ad hoc. So the Refugee Claimant Advisory Committee, for instance, is something that develops outside of that. The Survivors of Daesh meetings operate outside of that. What we're trying to do now are a couple things. So this is one what we've been trying to say is how can we ensure AAISA maintains that provincial focus? There are organizations, whether it's CLIP in Calgary, ELIP in Edmonton, or any of the other LIPs that really have regional or that really have municipal focuses. How can we ensure what we're doing is always working for the benefit of all members? And so this is what we're looking at. We're looking at shifting things a little bit to have more consistency between the conversations we're having at the small center level, at the Calgary level, and at the Edmonton level, to find those consistencies and really help us prioritize what we need to be working on to ensure we're working on that provincial lens. The flip side of that is make sure we're working with municipal stakeholders to make sure things that are more prevalent in one area versus the others still have an avenue where they can be responded to, they can be researched, they can be actioned however they need be. I'll follow up with a more formal announcement about that in a while, but like I said, having you all in the room is something I'm just going to take advantage of because you're all here. So again, how to address those common needs within the province. That's something we'll launch very shortly as well. And then lastly, I wanted just to mention and announce that as October 28th to October 30th, we will be having the AAISA Settlement and Integration Conference. So the Settlement and Integration Conference follows what historically were biennial conferences that were, the last one was offered in 2015 in Edmonton. This one will be in Calgary. And it is, like I said, along the lines of the biennial conference, really aimed at frontline staff. As a sector, we haven't had a large-scale professional development opportunity aimed at frontline staff in quite some time. The learning events that were being offered a couple years ago right now don't seem on the radar to be funded. I will send this out to you guys as far as a formal save the date, but I just want to announce a couple things to keep in mind and keep a lookout for. One, obviously, is the save the date. Two, we will be having tiered registration, so there will be early bird registration rates available. We'll send that out when it's available, as well as a request for presentations for anyone who's looking to present, whether you have innovative practices at your agencies or research you've done that you want to share with the sector. We'll have a request for presentations that will come out shortly as well. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be working to create and deliver this conference, like I said, at the end of October. So that is it for me, unless there's any questions. Then I'll turn it back to Risa.
All right, I'd like to bring up our secretary. All right, take it away.
Thank you. Interesting, a secretary sharing the financials. So where does all of this, what Sarosh and Eric shared about what AAISA has been done, why and how and all of that, where did that lead AAISA financially? And then when it comes to financial statements in an AGM, the main sentence is this part here: opinion of the auditors, who've stated that the accompanying financial statements that you've seen in your annual report present fairly in all material respects the financial position of AAISA as of March 31st, 2019, and in the results of its operations, changes in net assets and its cash flow for the year then ended in accordance with the Canadian accounting standards for non-profit organizations. And that's all you're looking for as a non-profit. This is the statement you want, and you're happy. So on the statements themselves, a few things I just like to share, and if there are any questions, easy ones asked to me, and more difficult ones to Sarosh, as I'm just a secretary. Just a few of the things where you see differences between last year and this year. The cash, so I'm talking about the assets now, the cash, about $130,000 difference. That's mainly from deferred revenues that were received in last year, will be spent this current year. Accounts receivable, there was an increase of $88,000. Mostly some money that IRCC still owed us from the last quarter, and some GST refund. A little we see some prepaid expenses, mostly rent, the first rent payments for the new building, some money that was spent already for this labor market program grant to the multicultural business, and I can't read my own notes anymore. Oh, partner solutions, sorry for that. An amount there, so that's the main difference there. Grants from the province, the ones that Soros mentioned. So the money was already received, will be used this year. On the net assets, an important number I always look at is the unrestricted net assets, gone up 100,000 to roughly $400,000, which shows a very healthy financial situation. So that as far as financial position. When we look at the revenues and expenses, Alberta government roughly double, about $50,000 more. That was the labor market program funding and human resources, HR multicultural fund. Another thing that went up, the City of Edmonton, to do with training for LGBTQ service provision. Fees for service went down, and that basically had to do a lot with training provided to non-AAISA members, mainly in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, against a fee that went down because not too much training was delivered. Memberships went up a bit thanks to more members, so that's good, thanks to all of us. The cost for, on the expense side, cost for consultants and subcontracts went down significantly, and that's mainly because of less training delivery, for which consultants and contractors have been brought in. More of that is being done, will be done going forward by own staff. Another amount, office and sun-dry. I learned a nice new term there, sun-dry in a rainy Calgary. That went up, mainly some regular stuff like supplies, equipment, outreach, GST, so nothing special there. And program delivery, that expense went down significantly, and it's all to do with training delivery again. So those were the few lines that I wanted to highlight. Any questions on that? Either good job or not interesting. That's good. And with that, I. Sorry.
People can interact in the chat too.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hello. No questions? Okay. Thank you. Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2018-19 audited financial statements as presented and as approved by as presented by the board. Can I have a motion, someone to make the motion? Anila, thank you. Seconder? Marva? Any questions? All of that? All in favor? Thank you. Then the next motion is to approve the auditors, and I completely forgot the name of the... okay. To approve them as our auditors for the next fiscal year. Can I have a motion for that? Thank you. Seconder? All in favor? And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. So next item on the agenda is election of the 2019-2021 board. It says Eric, but we're actually going to bring up Anila Liam. So come on down.
Great. Thank you so much, and a big Calgary welcome to all of you that are out of town for Calgary Stampede. Happy to have you all here. So my job is to talk to you about the election of the 2019 to 2021 board of directors. Consists of 9, directors, including a chair, a vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and 5 directors. The board consists of no less than 6 regular members and 3 associate members. And in the event that there are less than 3 associate members who accept nomination to the board, the remaining director positions may be filled by regular members. So that's in our bylaws. In terms of those that are completing their service, Frank Bauer, Sally Jo, and Alice Kolak have completed their terms with us, and we'll be talking a little bit about that more in a few moments. Those that are in the middle of their terms are Eric Amtban, Anila Lien, me, Aftab Khan, Bert Waldemariam, Bebas Figure, and Carol Gill. Okay, and so the business of today is to elect 3 new members. As per our bylaws, we did send out a call for nominations within the right time frame. We did receive 3 nominations, which was lucky because we've got 3 positions. And so I'd like to present them as a slate, if that is all right with you. The 3 nominations are for Kathy Alves, Director of Operations at Bredin Center for Learning. Kathy's right there. Desiree Kiana, Director, Association Francophone de Brooks. Close, sort of. There you go. But I'm like, is that close enough pronunciation? And Haider Hassan with the Immigrant Services Calgary. Is Haider here? No? Okay. So those are the 3. Can I have, I'd like to put forward the motion to elect these 3 people in. Before I do that, are there any questions or are there any other nominations from the board, or from the floor, I mean? What, none of you all want to be having fun with us? Look at us, we wear hats. No? All right. So, can I have a seconder? Thank you, Suman, with Calgary Immigrant Education Society. And with all that, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Welcome to the board. Thank you so much.
All right, last 2 items. Eric Ampman is going to speak on this, the director's appreciation, and then adjournment.
For me, this is a little bit awkward. Have you ever had to give a speech about like an aunt or an uncle? About like kind of what they've accomplished in life? I'm going to give a speech about a couple of people who I don't know as well as the person giving this speech ought to. Is Alice on the call? No? Okay. Alice Kolak, I'm going to give a speech about the 3 outgoing board members. So Alex Kolak, I think, was the first settlement worker ever hired in the province of Alberta. She's been in the settlement sector for 41 years. Yeah, how long has AAISA been incorporated? 39. Alice was probably on the board for at least 38 of the 39 years that there's been a board of AAISA. She has given so much to this sector. Yeah, I don't know how we can thank her enough for all that she's done. She's been a part of this organization and this movement for so long, seen the thick, the thin, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We, in a lot of ways, are built on her shoulders, and so we will be sending her a small acknowledgement, a token of appreciation. I still think there should be a Settlement Hall of Fame, and the first inductee to that Settlement Hall of Fame would be Alice Kolak. She has been a great mentor for so many people who've made their career here. The second person that I need to acknowledge is Frank Bauer. Frank, how many years were you on the board? Like 6, but we were there before that. Okay, Frank was, no, you were there before that, for sure. Anyway, Frank's been there for 6 years. That's what he's telling us. Frank has a very difficult job outside of the board. He is the executive director of CARE in Red Deer. And if there is a canary in the coal mine when it comes to anti-immigration and racism in this country, it is Red Deer. And Frank has been at the front of that fight. We've been behind you, but we're behind you. And so I think we very much appreciated the efforts that you've made on that front. You've dedicated only 6 years supposedly to the board. Maybe it feels like a long time. Maybe working with you is like, anyway. Frank, you've been, I think, the treasurer and the secretary, so part of the executive, has really helped give voice to this sector. I think one of the most important initiatives that you have been a champion of is the compensation for frontline work. So because of Frank's work, he's really pushed for better salaries for frontline staff in the settlement sector, and has made very compelling arguments that have been well received by the funders. And so your staff, and some of you may be staff, don't know why you got raises 4 years ago, and fairly significant raises 4 years ago. That's the person that you need to thank for your move up into a higher tax bracket. It was a pleasure working beside you. And the final person is also not here, and that's Sally Zhao. And this is the person that, in particular, I don't know enough about. I know she's a giant in the settlement sector in Calgary. I'm sure somebody who knows her better would have wiser words to say. I just found her to be one of the most pleasant, thoughtful people I've ever had the joy of working with. She can cut through a difficult issue with such ease and get to the heart of it and decide what's right and what's wrong. And I found one of the most interesting things about being the board chair with a board member like Sally is she's quick and decisive to land on her side of the fence. And you're meant to like weigh things and debate things, and Sally goes right to like, this is the morally right thing and correct thing that we need to do, and so we're gonna go do that thing, or I think we need to go do that thing. So to her too, it's been quite a joyous board to work with, and those three will be sadly missed by us. While we're welcoming new people, you've got big shoes to fill, so no pressure, well, lots of pressure, because we have big things we want to accomplish. We're finding ways to acknowledge our board members better, and the directors that have given so much time to this organization, kind of made those difficult decisions, been through some really wonderful celebrations, but also some difficult times for us. So thank you to the three of you for your 6 years of service. You, I think, become eligible after 1 year off, so we may become knocking sooner rather than later, but thank you. And a round of applause to the three of you. The next item is adjournment, but before I do that, I would like to acknowledge the board of directors. Could you stand up, those of you who served this last year? There's 5 of us here. There's 9 of us in total who served for that year. I just want to say, like, it's been a really remarkable year. We've made some difficult decisions. We've made some hard decisions. We've been through some big challenges, and I think we did it with a group of people that were more than capable of doing that. So thank you for your bravery, your confidence, and your commitment to AAISA. And a round of applause for us. Last, if I could ask the AAISA staff, including those of you who are doing the technology, you probably want to zoom out. Zoom, not in, zoom out. Zoom out, so yeah, about that. Could you, well, never mind, it's broken. Could you all come up here, the staff of AAISA? Yeah, you gotta weld it in place, I guess. And stand sort of beside me, with me, around me. So Sarosh went through a long list of accomplishments that AAISA has had in the last year. Even an event like this, it doesn't just come together. It doesn't just happen miraculously. We have a remarkable and talented group of people working hard every day to improve this sector and settlement in Alberta. And it always sounds like it might be a little bit of hyperbole, but bear with me. If you have a better, a stronger, a more competent, capable, effective settlement sector, I think you have a better Alberta. And if you have a better Alberta, you have a better country. So thank you for making Canada a better place through your hard work. A round of applause for them. And now I think if somebody makes the motion to adjourn, we're allowed to adjourn. Frank, that's a good way to go out. Thank you very much. If the current and past board members wouldn't mind sticking around for 5 minutes, there's a quick piece of business we need to discuss. Thank you.
I'll quickly say some last little things. No, it's all good. It's all good. Thank you for coming. I believe we still have some food left, so please have some. We don't want to take leftovers. But yeah, thank you again so much for coming. I know a few people are heading off to sneak a peek for Stampede, so I don't know if you want to get a group going. Yeah. Oh, do you want to? Yeah.
Sorry,
On that note.
on that note, we have adjourned, but thanks to our Vice Chair Anila, she was able to get some tickets for the grandstand show tonight for anyone who wants to attend, as well as for the Stampede Parade tomorrow. So, if anyone would like to attend, along with a handful of us who are attending, come grab me. I have tickets to both here, and they are yours to join.
Yeah, so either tonight for the grandstand show, it starts at 9:30, right? So it needs to be dark so that you get the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. Or tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock to 1 p.m. is the parade, and we have a roped off section for us. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
No flyovers.
No. Are you coming to them? Oh, okay, let me ask him. Yeah.
Sorry? For the parade?
Yeah.
There you are.
I won't be able to attend tonight.
You won't be able to?
I have my daughters coming to meet me.
The parade tomorrow?